This is Jordan Moorhead with the Austin Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I have a really excited guest on, Yochanan. He's with the Investory, and he's going to tell us all about what they're doing here in the Austin area. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Thank you so much for coming on. I know we had some issues getting this scheduled. I know we're both busy, but you made it happen, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have you here. First question before we get too far, what is your favorite restaurant in Austin?
My favorite restaurant would have to be Uchi or Uchiko. Uh, probably, probably you've heard it in the past.
Yeah, both great restaurants too. Love that
Yeah.
place. Or real quick, just for everybody listening, who are you and how are you involved with real estate investing in the Austin area?
So I'm an ex-engineer turned into a realtor.
Mhm.
I am doing residential real estate, both from an investment perspective and also from just a primary residence perspective.
Mhm.
I personally own a dozen properties, and I closed something like 250 properties over the course of the last couple of years. My license is relatively a new one. I only have it for just 2.5 years, but I've been relatively active.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's very active for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. So you own 12 properties. Are you mostly in the Austin area with those 12 properties?
Yes, all of my properties are within the Austin blast radius. So there's some in Austin, like I go as far as Georgetown. Uh, I am a big advocate for North Austin due to the data points and the reasons that I think that the area is undervalued in comparison to other areas in the US. So some people say that, I put all my eggs in one basket, but I'm thinking that, it's a really good basket. I like this
Mhm.
basket. And if it ain't
Yeah.
broke, don't fix it.
No, I love that. Put all your eggs in one basket, but you know this basket and you're watching over all your eggs too. So that's good stuff.
Yep.
Or I know you're a former engineer. It's funny, so many engineers end up in real estate investing. But what attracted you to investing in real estate and when did you start?
What attracted me? That's a great question. I think that what attracted me, maybe coming from Israel and seeing how, like in Israel, the real estate appreciates very strongly because you have a big scarcity of the land. Like you don't have a lot of land, and the demographics is just growing exponentially. And I've invested in real estate not through an investment property, but more as a primary residence and seen my equity grow. And then in the stock market and the index funds, which I also invest in, I just I didn't feel that I have an edge there. I feel in real estate, the market is kind of simple, or at least simpler, and there's a big emotional barrier of entry. And I felt more confident starting to deploy capital there. And I did not invest in real estate before Austin. So I lived in Israel, and then I lived in California for only 6 months. But when I came here, everything clicked. I was like, oh, this is so obvious. It's so freaking obvious. And then in my first year, I bought 7 properties, and I bought the rest afterwards. Um, and I call myself like somebody who can take calculated risks. So
Mhm.
I think I'm on the conservative approach, on the conservative end of the spectrum, compared to people who are actually going to do something about it. Because most people are just more conservative than me; they're not going to invest at all. So between investments, I kind of more on the conservative side. Um, yeah, and I think that with real estate, it just I don't need the money right now. I'm thinking about my future, so it kind
Mhm.
of worked for me.
Okay. No, I completely agree there. I love the calculated risk perspective you have there. And you talked about, North Austin being kind of your favorite area. What attracts you so much to North Austin and why not South Austin? I know everywhere is growing around here, so I'm just curious.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that Southwest Austin is excellent too, and I can also speak about why what are the growth engine of the South, which definitely exist. But I live in the North. It's a bit easier to a degree. I like having properties within 30 minutes of proximity, even though now with my property management division or partnership, I don't really manage it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But from a growth engine perspective, I would say that looking at the domain and then the expenditure, like not the expenditure, I'm sorry, expanding of other companies towards the north kind of
Mm,
tells me that it's just there is so much more room to grow while still being landlocked. So if I look at Cedar Park and Brushy Creek, they are larger than Ellendale and Crestview, for example, but they are still landlocked. You don't really have land reserves in these areas, and the prices can still make sense from a value to rent perspective. So, I'm thinking about Facebook opening a building, like building a building in the domain. I think they've already done. Apple building a second campus, and then Blizzard and Nvidia moving towards close to my home. I live right by Avery and Palmer. I
mm.
see the companies migrate here, but then I look at the education. Everything is just top notch. West Stroud school district. Like, I'm not going to send my kids to private school. I don't think it is required. And I have clients that are very high income, and they all go to public schools, and I like it. I like being in a public school from just, I don't know, a personal agenda. So all in all, like, a lot of things click here, and I'm thinking that people like me, I don't know how to say it, quote unquote, high caliber is not the right person. Like, let's say high income, if I'm thinking about me as an ex AWS engineer,
Mhm.
those type of people who are making six-figure salary, what they're looking for employment opportunities, and they're looking for education. North Austin has both, while still being relatively affordable. It is not as affordable as 3 years ago, and it's definitely more affordable than 5 years into the future. So I think that's kind of attracts me into the north, and I don't think that I don't think that the south is bad or east or west. I think each area has its own growth engines. But yeah, I'm sorry, kind of a long answer, but that's kind of
No,
what brought me into this area.
no, I like it. And I know you're coming from an investment perspective, so that makes a lot of sense of, hey, the prices are still relatively reasonable compared to prices of other areas of Austin. And I like that perspective because, yeah, the West Austin is probably the highest end, but you're never going to make a rental work in
No.
Rollingwood or somewhere like that, Westlake. The rentals just don't work there unless you bought them 30 years ago.
Yeah, no. And then, by the way, and even if you bought them 30 years ago, they don't really work today, but you just don't think about it. You just have so much equity in it. If
Mhm.
you look at the valuation compared to your rent, your cap rate it's so low. It would be better to just redeploy your capital in a different area, unless you're just banking on appreciation, which is still like it's going to happen. But
Mhm.
in my perspective, I would rather have like 5 properties in Brushy Creek compared to 1 property in Westlake for investment purposes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And you're very specific for investment purposes. So,
Yeah.
Aura, can you tell me a little bit more about what is the Investory? I know I saw that as part of your email signature. I see that behind your head right there. What is the Investory? What's the purpose and what's the background there?
Sure thing. So the investor group is basically a real estate group, and we have an end-to-end solution for real estate. So instead of me just being the friendly neighborhood realtor who just opens up the door, tells you
Mhm.
how nice is the kitchen, we're trying to bring a more holistic approach to this. So starting with education. So I have a YouTube channel in which I'm trying to just put educational content. I don't do like marketing. It's more about like long videos, too long
Mhm.
probably, as you can see for my answers as well, that goes very, very deep into topics. So instead of me telling you, oh, you should invest in real estate, it's so awesome, I'm going to go deep into how you leverage your funds and what is the good and bad things about it. So after education, let's say that, okay, you're thinking Austin might be the right place for me. And sometimes, by the way, it's not, but let's say it is. Now we're walking towards tracking down a property that adheres to your criteria. And we're using my proprietary software. Uh, I'm an engineer still. I will
Mhm.
always be. I think
Mhm.
I look myself first as an engineer and then anything else. And I built a bunch of tools to look at properties from the data approach. So not only from the emotional approach. The thing I'm battling with is that people think, oh, you're the data guy, you don't have any
Mhm.
emotions. And I'm like, why not both? You can still have both, it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be one thing or the other. And then, like, let's say that somebody closed the property, now they need to renovate it. We have a ops division, and let's say they want to manage it. There's a property management partnership, and if they want to lease it and manage on their own, sure thing, we have a service for that as well. The main thing is trying to give a full solution instead of me just focusing on the deal and on the sale, quote unquote. and getting out. And it's kind of interesting. And I can tell you as an agent, and you would probably understand better than most. From an agency perspective, the sale is the bread and butter. This is where you have meat on the bone. Management, leasings, renovations, if you want to do it in a high quality and in a low cost, there's no margins there. But
No.
if you look at this as a part of the ecosystem, then it's, instead of me taking money, spending it on Google and Facebook, I'm spending it on my clients, and my clients become my marketing platform. So think that like per ABOR MLS, I'm like number one for 21 and 22, and I literally don't have any marketing. Like I didn't. I just started the YouTube this year, and it's not performing well at all. It's a it is not working at all. My clients are just referrals. So that's kind of the full, well, the overview of what I'm trying to do. It is hard. I don't know that I've done it super successfully, but I'm working on it, and I'm improving time and again. And I think the clients are happy. So
yeah, no, I love that. In everything, it's just time of improving it. I know it sounds like you worked for Amazon before. They didn't start out where they're at today when they started, 30 years ago. It takes time of iterating and getting better and better.
So much. And I can tell you that it's funny, not that I can even be I can't be compared to Amazon. They, of course, like I don't know, 10 orders of magnitude or 1,000 orders of magnitude better than me.
Million,
but
maybe,
yeah, million. But like I'm looking at
size.
Amazon as like for inspiration. And when I worked in Amazon, they taught us that basically there's like the quote unquote flying wheel, in which let's say that you have some sort of a scale, maybe a small scale. You try to reduce your margins and reduce a bit your profit and create more value. And you have more value, more people are coming, and then you have a larger scale and you have a larger revenue. You have more revenue, you reduce your margins. And it's like a flywheel. And that's kind of how the company operates from the inside. It really is. And I think that this is what I'm trying to mimic in my little small, in my small operation. And it's been working, I think, to a degree, just all about optimizing it. How can I create value to my clients without, with still staying afloat? And it's working. I'm definitely afloat, but I need to, there's still a lot of room to grow and optimize. And I'm very self-critical and trying to just look internally and improve the processes and get more value and just optimize every step of the way. That makes sense.
That's awesome. No, I think that's really important, just to constantly be trying to get better. And that's all you can do. Yeah, so that's good stuff. Or what's the biggest mistake you've made in real estate investing?
My biggest mistake in real estate investing. Okay, I would say that the biggest mistake that I have made when I was a younger investor, I only looked at a spreadsheet. I remember walking in Brushy Creek and basically skipping on properties because they don't make the $100 per property that Bigger Pockets told me to do, and then doubling down on a duplex in Central Austin that looks amazing in the spreadsheet. And I remember me walking around like a peacock. Oh my God, look, like to my friends, it's like my third property I bought. Look at these numbers, so good numbers. I'm so happy. This was the property I sold. Like the only property I ever sold was this duplex, because what I didn't really factor in is the cost of my time and the cost of managing the type of tenants that this type of property attracts. So now I know that there is like a spectrum in real estate, and the closer you are to the cash flow end of things, the different quality that you're going to get. And it's not necessarily, it doesn't mean it's worse. It doesn't mean it's not good. The cash flowing assets are great, and we need to aim for those. But for each his own. And for me, like the cost of my time is significantly more like costly than another $200 or $300 per month, because just it's not even an hour. So afterwards, like this is after I sold this property, I actually moved to like an A class or an A plus class property, and it's been working a bit better for me. And even if it doesn't cash flow the same, it is just from an equity perspective and factoring in everything, I think it's the better suit for me. So to answer the question, I think not focusing on the full picture of myself as an investor, focusing just on the one element in the spreadsheet that was kind of easier to understand. Oh, this number is larger than this number. This is the better property. But real estate isn't science. And it's not just numbers in a spreadsheet. It's an entire experience. So yeah, I think I learned from it, and I'm always learning. There are like a bunch of other mistakes, but I would say that was my biggest one, I feel like, because like eventually I sold this property,
Yeah, I did the same thing. Earlier on in investing, I was just looking at the numbers. I didn't pay any attention to the location or the asset type. And I made a few investments that, because the market turned out great, did well, but were just complete pain. They were always a problem. There was always problems. It was always a headache. It took a lot of time. But it looked great on a spreadsheet. And then come to find out, it actually didn't perform as well as my spreadsheet said it was going to. So not only was it this huge headache, but it didn't work as well. And I like what you said of, having that property in a nicer area, the higher quality asset. It's so much less work, and maybe you don't make as much money right away, but in the long run, those definitely appreciate better.
Yeah, it depends on what you're optimizing on. And I think that a lot of investors are saying, oh, cash, like I only look at the cash flow. Appreciation is just a bonus. But what game are we playing here? Are we trying to model the reality, or are we trying to just do whatever that is kind of easier for us? Because people saying appreciation is just it's like a guess, just like a guess. But you know what? Somebody paying your rent is also a guess, and you're taking it. But the granularity is different, because you're getting the revenue month over month, comparing to getting the revenue on a larger scale, maybe down the road or whenever you cash out refi. And I'm thinking that what we need to do as investors is to look at the full picture in a realistic, pessimistic way. So not being super optimistic. Oh my God, Austin doubled itself in 3 years. Let's assume it's going to double itself again. You know what? Let's not, right? But also not being extremely pessimistic and say like, oh, well, yeah, Austin doubled itself, so now it's just going to stagnate, even though it is still priced anywhere between 3 to 8x, less in comparison to other comparable markets from which people are coming here. Because if that is the case, what is the argument really? Are we saying it's going to stagnate for eternity? And if we do, well, let's not invest here. I think a lot of people are just, they're doing whatever that they feel comfortable with, and maybe it's more comfortable to look at the cash flow because it's month over month, but reality is reality. So I think taking the right assumptions that are realistic and pessimistic-ish, not too pessimistic, I think that's important. And look at the full picture and kind of understand. Yeah, maybe I skipped on these properties in Brushy Creek. You know what? The property I bought for myself, my first home that I lived in, that I did not buy as an investor, it's my top performing asset, including cash flow, by the way, which is like, it's interesting because the rent increased by a big margin, by more than $1,000 over the course of 3 years per month. That is crazy. It's crazy. And I'm thinking that had I made the decision to buy that first asset solely on the premise of being an investment property, I would skip on it, because back then it was minus $100 cash flow per my calculations. It appreciated like 300 grand. So
wow. So your best property is the one you bought to live in, and you bought it to live in it because you like the area and it's a good neighborhood, and like the house, that kind of stuff. But now it's appreciated so much and the rent's gone up so much, it's actually your best performer. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And all of the, you know how it's like, you live here too, everything appreciated. And I'm saying to people all the time, like in Austin, in my opinion, that is very biased, even if you purchase a property over the market value with a bad agent, if you wait 5 years, it's fine. You're going to come ahead still. But why won't you optimize? Instead of doing that, just get more equity from the get-go. Just buy it with equity inside, and make a better deal. But yeah, I moved away from that property literally because of that. Like, I liked my old home. It was in a great neighborhood. It was a very beautiful home. Me
Mhm.
as a semi-young guy back then, I bought it when I was like in my early 30s or mid 30s. I never, dreamt that I would be able to own something like that. Coming from Israel, I grew up in a like 1,000 square feet apartment
Mhm.
uh, in the suburb. It's like coming here to like a 2,500 square feet home in
Wow, yeah.
10,000 square feet of land. Oh my God. But then after like a couple of years, I told my wife, listen, like we're not going to sell this property. We're going to rent it. And if we do,
Mhm.
we're going to buy something else. We're going to get outpriced. And then I moved into my current home. Then my current home, you can never can never be a rental.
Okay. Yeah, no, sometimes that happens. So if you had to start over today, is there anything you'd do differently or?
Yeah, if I had to start over today, I think I would do some things differently. Of course, hindsight is always 2020, but
Mhm.
I would I would probably focus more on the areas that I really believe in the location, because you can renovate the property, but you cannot renovate the location. The location is the location.
Yep.
So I have like three properties in Georgetown, and don't get me wrong, they're doing great. And actually, even though they're on the quote unquote a lesser class of the spectrum, compared to some other properties of mine, my tenants there are
Mhm.
excellent.
Mhm.
But my properties in Cedar and Brushy, they've overperformed. So had I done it, can I do it again with my hindsight? I'll probably get another like one property, maybe one or two in the central Austin area, deploy a bit more capital, get a bit larger loan on the 2.5 to 3% interest rate, and get like lower cash flow, because over time these are the properties that will appreciate. Now I'm completely outpriced. I will never buy a property in these areas, because it's like you said earlier, like with Westlake, I feel like we're getting to that point there as well, that it doesn't really make sense. So I would probably focus more on location that is like affordable, like the best affordable location. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like the best
Yeah,
location I get for my money.
absolutely. And that's what it's funny that I absolutely hear you talking about location. You said the duplex, it looked great on the spreadsheet, wasn't in the greatest location. But that's what worked so well for me early on here in Austin was, buying in the best location for the money. And I didn't realize it at the time, but by doing that, everybody else wanted to move there too, because it was the best location for the money and they appreciated like crazy. So it's interesting if you buy somewhere the best location you can get that's affordable, it's not going to be affordable too long because it's the best
Yes.
location you can get for that money, and people are going to go crazy and bid it up,
Yes,
make it a lot
precisely.
more
My
expensive.
latest properties that I've bought,
Mhm.
all of them are in a more premium-ish, that I could afford location. So of course not Westlake, but
Mhm.
nicer neighborhoods that, like, basically I would place my parents there. You know what I mean? I would
Yeah,
place my best friend could live there, as my friends. They probably have they can land there. So that's kind of what I learned and how I doubled down in my most recent purchases.
yeah, no, that's great advice. Or what are your long-term goals for real estate investing, and where do you see your career going in that space?
My long-term goals are, the American dream.
Yeah.
I want to be able to theoretically get my foot off the pedal a bit, and work not as hard as I have been. Um, I think, I'm very, very fortunate and privileged to literally just live here in Austin and in the US. I
Yeah.
wasn't born in the US, and for me, being here is amazing, and I love this country. Um, and I am privileged also to just be relatively okay with what I do and be relatively successful. But I do want to get to the point that I can spend a bit more time with my family, with my children. Um, and I think that once I start to basically exit from the properties, meaning starting to pay off the mortgages eventually,
Mhm.
and get the cash flow from there to support my lifestyle, and focus on the thing I just want to do, like education. I really like education. I like I have a passion for that, to kind of take all the information I aggregated in my brain and
Mhm.
put it out there so somebody else can utilize it and kind of think that maybe I made some positive impact. So I wish that I would have more time to do that better and optimize it. So once, so these are my goals with my real estate. My real estate is bought for me to live out from, not for my children. My children, they will get it too. But I don't
Mhm.
want to I don't want to die old with a bunch of assets that my children can now enjoy on their own. I want to enjoy it too. I've
Yeah.
been working very, very hard. I didn't inherit anything. It's all me.
Mhm.
So these are my goals. So I think that with Austin, Austin is getting more expensive, but also the properties are getting better rents. So over the course of time, I will eventually start to pay back the mortgages. Just the issue is I have debt for 2.5 to 3.5 fixed rate for 30 years. I did not take the arm because I understood what's going to happen. It's obviously like I think it was painfully obvious then. It's kind of obvious now. So it's hard. Like now I can start paying off mortgages, but I know it's not the right economical, like the right financial thing to do. I think it's better for me to redeploy and
Mhm.
eventually get out. So for now, I'm still buying real estate and investing in other areas. But let's say in 10 years from now, I'll probably liquidate some assets, return some mortgages, and start to get more cash flow so I can kind of live out of. But I don't think I'm going to stop working. I have too,
Yeah.
I have too many things to do.
No, I love that. And, it sounds like you love what you do. You love where you live, and I think that's so important. Is not having that mindset of when I get to here, I will be happy. It's hey, I live in a great place. I live in Austin, best place to live in the country, I believe. Live in the best country that you can live in the world. Like, why not be happy now, doing what you're doing right now, and then continue to build for the future too? There's nothing wrong with that, but I think you've got a great mindset on it. I really like the perspective.
Thank you. I would say that again, and I don't know if it's okay to say those type of things. I don't want to to sound like a jerk, but I feel like that in right now, I'm in my mid 30s, mid to late 30s soon.
Mhm.
But I'm living my end game life, and now it's all about optimizing it. And I feel so fortunate really to just be able to do that. And I know some people, not everything is perfect in the US. Not everything is perfect in Austin, definitely
Everywhere,
not in
anywhere. Yeah,
Texas,
it's never not perfect anywhere. Yeah.
but you know what? It's not that far off. And
Hmm.
I really love this area. And I think that again, it's a privilege to be able to get to this point. Like I didn't plan to have such a good life. And it's not like I'm rich. It's not like I don't know, like out of my way, but it's good. Like I got to the place that I want to be at. And now it's all about just optimizing it for the family and for the children. So we can, so it can be sustainable without me getting burnt out. But I think that it's great. It's great to be able to do that. And I think that is the American dream for me, at least as an outsider, being able to look up and see that the glass ceiling is so high here, and all you need to do is to work hard, to play hard, take some calculated risks, and just just be just try aim high and do it. I don't know. I really I'm really fortunate to be here.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the optimism, and I like that, you've got gratitude about where you're at right now and what you're doing. And I think that's so important, especially like you said, so you don't get burnt out. If you love what you're doing and you love where you are, it's hard to get burnt out,
Yeah,
even when you're working hard. So that's
yeah,
good
it is
stuff.
true. It is true. Like even though I've been working in the past couple of years, I had one year that I worked full time in as a full time job as a director in a company, and I did a real estate thing, like 10 properties a month, and it wasn't healthy.
No.
So I'm happy that I'm not doing that, and I just do the real estate. Uh, but yeah, I think that we live in such a great place, and we're surrounded by amazing people. I wish I can get to the point that I can be more helpful towards the community. You know, I want to, like in Israel, I used to give lectures and try to help others. I don't feel that I do it. Like I didn't really open up like an educational pipeline here, and I really wish that I would. I really want to get there. So I'm hoping once, you know, I stabilize, I can get there and try to help. You know, I think it's really, really important. You know, you take something from the system, you need to give back. This is how everything can get balanced in the grand scheme of things. Uh, yeah, no, it's great.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, giving back and being able to help others is very important. Or is there a favorite book you like to recommend? Speaking of giving back, is there something you like to say, hey, this is a good read you can check out?
Yes, I would say two. One of them is going to be like you also probably heard about it a bunch of times, but it's still, I really live by that. Extreme Ownership. I
Mm,
think that Extreme Ownership is a book that everybody absolutely have to read, because applying that is a game changer. When you really understand what extreme ownership is and why it's important, everything else is achievable. And I say that, you know, within my company, when I'm trying to recruit somebody, ownership, like a true sense, in the true sense, in the most pure sense of form, that is the number one thing that I'm looking in people. Because if you have the sense of ownership and you really own your experience and other people's experiences, especially when you work with clients, and everything else is trainable. Like I can teach you real estate, I can teach you data, I can teach you engineering, I can teach you a bunch of things.
hmm
When I tried to teach other people ownership, I couldn't. If you don't
Yeah,
get it, you don't. If you
yeah,
don't have the sense of ownership, you won't. But if you do, it will help you tremendously. So that is the book that I would recommend. And then I have a second book, if it's fine to share, that is
yeah.
completely, it's more recreational or semi-educational in nature.
Mhm.
Shogun by James Clavell. If you haven't read Shogun, it's about mm, like the Japanese culture of the
Okay.
samurai area, and it's about a Western person who find himself in Japan by accident, and he discovers about the area, and you are discovering about it too. Even though if you know, if even if we think that we know, we don't really. And it is such an interesting book, and I really highly recommend. It's more, you know, not a personal growth book, more like opening yourself to like a new world book. But I loved it, so this is my favorite book, I would say.
All right. Is that Shogun? Shogun?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Awesome. Oh,
highly recommended. Seriously, like the best book that I've read.
okay. Yeah, I've not heard of it. I'll have to check it out. Or what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? What's the best way for people to reach out?
Just, you know, you can Google my name, you can find me on Facebook, on YouTube. My phone number is probably there. You know how it's like real estate, you
Mhm.
search somebody's name, you're going to find it. um, if anybody's interested in my style of, you know, deep diving into subjects, then my YouTube channel is all about that. And of
What's
course,
that
yeah, if you want
called?
to,
The
it's
YouTube
it's called,
channel.
it's my name, so nobody would, because I really suck at marketing, so nobody would ever be able to find it. But it's my name. It's or Yochanan, Oryochanan. And I don't think that there are many or Yochanans in the US. So
Not a lot.
you'll find
Yeah.
us. Or you can search for the Investory. You know, my company's name. It's the same. It will
Okay.
bring you to the same thing.
Okay.
Um,
That's easy. Awesome. Well, Or, thank you so much for coming on here today. So do you have a website? Is it the Investory?
Yes, theinvestory.net is my
Okay.
website, and
Okay.
oryocanon.com is like my personal website. And Facebook, I'm a boomer, you know. So Facebook is my thing. Like I have an
Mhm.
Instagram page. I'm not as active there.
Mhm.
Facebook is where I can share, you know, more in-depth uh, posts to a degree.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you search for my name there, or you know, Google, you'll find it. And thank you so much for having me, by the way. Really, I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So it's or Yochanan, pretty much anywhere it can be found, and absolutely put that on there, or the investory.net. I am at Jordan underscore Moorhead on Instagram, or Jordan Moorhead, whatever you're looking for. You'll easily find me. Or thank you so much. I really appreciated having you on here today.
Thank you, Jordan. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
we will talk here soon.
Okay.